James Aguilar, and this is my story. While growing up, my mom wasn't the greatest mother in the world. She would always have anger issues and depression, and she would always take it out on me. As a little kid, I wasn't always the greatest son around, but also wasn't the worst. I would mess up at school. I wouldn't bring my folder home so she can sign it, and I would just be out late with my friends, and whenever she had to call me to come home, I'd take like an extra 5 minutes to hang out with my friends. And she would get so angry to the point where I would walk in and she would have the belt ready in her hand, and all you can see is a little kid running around the house yelling and screaming, like, "No, Mom, don't do it, don't hit me, please." But she would, and she would hit me over and over again with the belt on my legs, on my back, and I would get welts everywhere. I would run into my room and I would shut the door and start banging on the door saying, "Please stop," and my mom would say, "Open up this door." But it would keep going and going until finally she stopped. And I would be so angry at myself for being such a failure. I would get upset. And while growing up, I got a couple of best friends, and we would hang out after school. And eventually we got to the point to where we grew up and we went to parties. And to cope with all the anger and depression that I had while growing up from my mom, I would go out to party with them and drink alcohol. And after that, it was as if my life just went downhill. We went to different people's houses and we would drink liquor and beer. We would play different games, but at the end of the night, I'd always get sick and I would be drunk, but there was never that fulfillment. So ultimately, I would go into sexual immorality. I would date girls and I wouldn't treat them the best, but after we would break up, we would have an off and on thing. And I would meet different girls as well. I would bring them back home and we would hang out, and we wouldn't act pure and holy. And after a while, that just ultimately brought me to the point in which I didn't feel happy at all. I would be depressed waking up. I would think, why are you keeping me alive? Why am I still breathing? Are you even real? And I would just build up so much anger and hatred towards him. And one day I got done with it. I messed up ultimately whenever my mom bought a house, and she asked me to do a favor, and I messed up. And after I messed up, she ran up to me and she started yelling at me. And then she said, "I'll be right back, I have to go get some more stuff." So when the moment she closed the door, I got infuriated. I ran around the house yelling and screaming. I would say, "God gave me this life so I can kill myself." I went to the kitchen and I looked at the mirrors in the cupboards, and I looked at myself and I thought, where are you going? Where are you gonna end up at? Nowhere. You're gonna just die and no one's gonna care. So I picked up the knife and I put it up to my throat. And I said, "God, if you're real, then you're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to make someone call me, you're gonna have to make someone walk in through the door, but you're gonna have to do something to make me stop." One day after school, I was feeling really down under, and I went up to one of my good friends, AJ, and I trust him. I've been friends with him for a couple of years, and I said, "Hey, do you want to go to a party this weekend?" And he said, no, "Do you want to go to a church with me?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to go to a church. That seems kind of ridiculous. I mean, God's treated me badly." And he said, "Well, maybe you finally need to see that God's real and that He loves you." And I said, "All right, I'll go and I'll try it." So then I went, and then Pastor Lindsay, he was speaking a sermon, and it was as if God was speaking directly to me through him. And at the altar call, Lindsay said, "If you're dealing with depression and you have things from the past that are haunting you, and if you're angry and hurting, then come down here." So I went to the altar call. I lifted up my arms and I said, "God, if you are real, then I need you to do something." And that's when He ultimately just changed my entire life from upside down to right side up, and I gave my life to God. And ever since then, I've been growing, I've been becoming stronger in my faith, and I've been more happy and joyful, and there's a peace inside of me that I've never had before. And that peace spread out to my mom and my dad and everybody around me. And I'm so thankful that He actually stepped into my life when I asked Him to. Hi, my name is James Aguilar, and this is my story. What's yours?